Welcome back to another episode of Pokemon Knowledge. On today's episode, we're going to talk about the good and bad versus opening packs, sending cards away for grading, versus keeping sealed product. There is different thought processes on each one. I've talked about it in other videos. I keep trying to tell people to prepare yourself for what I believe is the next upcoming bubble or boom or whatever you want to call it that is going to happen in the Pokemon market in the very, very near term. So there are different investing strategies. Do you rip packs? Do you send your cards away for grading? What does that entail? What comes along with it? Or do you want to just invest strictly in sealed product? And, I don't care if you're a quote unquote flipper or collector or somebody who's just trying to sell a little bit of cards to help finance growing their collection. So we're going to talk about the pros and cons of everything today. And, what am I doing too? I get this question a lot from listeners. How am I preparing for the upcoming boom? So we'll try to answer that question also today. So first, we'll just talk about ripping packs. Because ripping packs is almost like a drug. Because you get that thrill. You get that high. It's just a euphoric feeling, especially when you pull whatever the chase card of that set is. I don't care if you pull the Gyarados GX out of Crimson Invasion, or if you pull first edition base set Charizard out of, a shadowless first edition pack. I don't care. As long as you pull whatever the chase card is, you can go through every single Pokemon set and there is some sort of chase card. And it is a euphoric high. It's like a drug in a way. And I think that's what got a lot of us into the hobby in the first place, is that chase card. And maybe your chase card in different sets isn't the most valuable card. And that's the next level of Pokemon collecting, right? So, yeah, you can be in this hobby to make money. Or, no one wants to just pull all, low value cards. Yes, we do want to all pull the high value cards. But there's also like your chase cards. Like my chase card is always like Raichu Hollows. And I get that feeling. I don't care the dollar amount that's associated with different Raichu Hollows and different sets. It's always my personal chase card. So that's why I love to open packs. And, you go through different sets, and hopefully you guys have gone through different sets, and you can pick out, 5, 6, 7, who knows how many cards out of that set. And if you pull any one of them, you're happy. There are a few sets when you pull like a common Pikachu, you get excited because you just enjoy the card. And that's like the next level. But for this video, we're going to be talking about like grading cards. And if you're going to be grading cards, normally you want to send away like the high value cards, because there is the cost that's associated with sending away cards and the cost associated with sending away a lot of cards. If you're running into some of the situations that I'm running into right now, like, real quick example, CGC. My first submission was submitted in December. It was received. The day you ship is way different than the day they receive. But the day it was quote unquote received by CGC was December 29th, 2020. I still haven't got that first submission back. Since then, I've sent multiple submissions to them. And CGC has recently changed their policy where previously they would charge you for the cards that you sent them the day they received them. So when they opened up your package, they sorted through your cards, made sure that everything was there. Your credit card got charged that day. So all my submissions that are currently at CGC, that policy applied to. So I'm talking like $4,000 just in grading fees of cards that I have not received back yet. So there is a very big financial, not incentive, but financial aspect to grading cards. CGC has recently changed their policy as of February 16th, where now they don't charge you for your graded cards until after they go through the grading process. So more or less, it just means your credit card won't get charged at the beginning of the process, it will get charged at the end. So if you are into flipping cards or selling cards in order to pay for your grading fees, you'll have a much smaller window from the time your credit card gets charged to the time your cards get back. And I can see the benefit in that. As for me, I've enjoyed my credit card getting charged right away, because for me, it's almost like that. You pay your credit card bill, you forget that you paid it, and then when those cards come back, it's a psychological thing, right? Because they're already paid for. All those grading fees have been paid for, for the last 2 to 3 months. So, but don't get me wrong, maybe that's not for everybody. I could see the other side of that. You got to ask yourself, is it worth it to grade my cards? And I can't answer that on a person by person basis. And it's just the truth. There are a ton of cards out there that you can have graded, after grading fees, shipping fees, listing fees, and everything that's involved in that. Let's say you wanted to go the eBay route, okay? So everything I just said, and you sold that card, there's a million cards you can make $5 off of when everything's all said and done. And for some people, maybe $5 is worth it. But you got to remember, think of how much money is already tied up in grading fees, your shipping costs to have a card shipped back to you, just to make $5. Maybe for a lot of people out there, $5 per card would not be worth their time. And I could understand that. But now let's say you have another person out there who has 10,000 cards graded, and they're making $5 a card. Well, that person's going to make $50,000 in profit off making $5 a card. Think of how much money those cards would cost to have graded. You're talking $80,000, $90,000 in grading fees that they would be tied up for. So everyone is different. What your financial situation is like, or how much you could talk different things. Do you want to make a certain dollar amount per card, or do you want to make a certain percentage per card? Because maybe I should pull away from talking about making $5 per graded card, because there's probably a lot of people out there shaking their heads saying, in what world am I going to spend all this money and all this time, to make $5 a card? But I just want you guys to keep that in the back of your head. Like, if you did it in a huge bulk amount, maybe that's worth it. And there's a lot of cards out there you can do that for. But then you got to look at it from a percentage standpoint. If you opened up, I don't know, let's say you opened up a pack of cards, $4 and change MSRP, and you pulled what's the most recent? We'll just talk about Vivid Voltage. So you pulled, Pikachu VMAX. So you're talking $300-$400 a card, depending on where the market is at a given time. So cost you $4 for that pack. You could then do different things. Do you want to send that card away with your bulk because you believe that card will hold value in the next 60 days or 70 days or however long it takes you to receive? And again, we're talking CGC, we're not talking PSA right now. We can talk PSA as soon as I finish this. But you send that card away, and after grading fees and everything, maybe you're tied up a little over $20 just in grading fees between shipping, and maybe you did a little quicker turnaround time. Well, you're into that card now for around $25. You list it, you get $300 for it. That's a huge dollar amount. And is there a lot of luck in, pulling a chase card? Of course there is. It's not impossible, though, if you open up enough product. But then you have to weigh the pros and cons. What are the chances that I'm going to actually pull a good card if I'm opening a lot of packs? That's just as important, because, it's really easy to sit here behind the microphone and say, oh, well, if you pull the chase card in every single set and every single pack, you're going to make more money ripping packs. Well, We all know that's not the case. I mean, I have a pile on the desk sitting next to me of code cards. You know how many of these code cards are green? You know, thank God we have Vivid Voltage and Amazing Rares. Maybe a couple of those code cards were good, but trust me, a lot of those green code cards are from a lot of different sets. So that means I pulled pretty much nothing out of those packs. So you have to, weigh the pros and cons, and, where are you sitting at financially? And keep in mind, I should always say this during every video, I'm not a financial advisor. The opinions I'm giving in this video are strictly opinions. They're not considered financial advice. If you want real financial advice, consult the financial planner. But, how much money are you willing to have tied up in, the initial cost to buy the product, then to open it, then to have it graded? And, it's very important when talking about grading the cards if you're the one doing the grading, because there's so much money in Pokemon right now. And there's more money than I have ever seen in this hobby in my entire life. Sure, you can point out the obvious. Logan Paul buying $2 million worth of, first edition booster boxes. What is that going to do to the first edition market? You got people paying crazy amounts for packs. But yeah, those packs aren't just the true value of the cards. They also bring all the exposure that Logan Paul brings and all that stuff, blah, blah, blah. But you go through the lines, any of the WotC stuff. Look at like first edition Neo Genesis. Guys, first edition Neo Genesis packs used to be like a little over $100 a piece. They're not like that anymore. The market has changed so quickly because of all this money that comes in. And prices that used to be high, quote unquote high, are not high anymore. And new collectors and new investors that have gotten into this hobby have so quickly taken a lot of prices for a product as the norm. I just have to make this clear in this video. A lot of the prices we're seeing, especially the growth rate of these products, are not the norm. We have sets where packs sat, booster boxes sat at right around MSRP to below MSRP. I know I mentioned it earlier in this video. Crimson Invasion, Steam Siege. These booster boxes sat at or below MSRP for years. And then just one day, overnight, it was like somebody came and hit a light switch, and next thing you know, these boxes are selling for $150 for a Crimson Invasion box, $200+ for a Steam Siege box. What's going on? I mean, but then, it's just crazy to think about. So then you got to talk about sealed product. And honestly, I can't think of a sealed product off the top of my head that didn't do good dollar amount wise. So pretty much anything you have purchased in the last 3 to 4 years kept sealed. I mean, let's just real quick talk about like the Charizard EX boxes and the Pikachu EX boxes from Generations. Generations. Look at how much these, 4-pack boxes are selling for. And yeah, okay, we could talk about Evolutions. What the heck happened with Evolutions? $1,000 now for a booster box? These prices don't really make sense because a lot of us in the hobby, at least I'm speaking for myself, maybe more than everyone, I was over Evolutions. Like, I was tired of Evolutions. Evolutions was in everything. If we wanted a booster box, we can go out and get a booster box. If you wanted packs, you go out and get packs. But there wasn't a lot of value in the set. Yeah, there's Charizards in it. There's Blastoids, Venusaurs. Yeah, there were some nice nostalgic cards. And sure, if you want to just try pulling Charizards, like, yeah, Evolutions was fun. But a lot of us had already moved on from Evolutions for all of Sun and Moon. And then we got excited about all the Sword and Shield sets. Like, Evolutions took the back burner. But then again, it felt like overnight somebody flipped a light switch and the price of evolution just exploded. And it happened so quick. And I'm sure a lot of you newer investors or guys, or I shouldn't say new, because I'm sure a lot of you guys have gotten back in the hobby. If you've only been back in the hobby for, I don't know, 4 or 5 months, you've seen just this explosive growth. Like a just absolute tidal wave of mayhem has hit in the market. And we can talk about, like, sure, there's probably a lot of reasons behind that, between COVID and, the explosion of like box breaks on YouTube and quarantine and people being at home and the generation that grew up with Pokemon, let's call it the, 28-year-olds to 40-year-olds, like that decade timeline. We all grew up with Pokemon, and that generation is now moving into their higher financial earning times of their careers. We've gone through high school, we've gone through college, we've been working now, we've been established at our jobs where our incomes are probably at the highest they've ever been in our lifetimes. And some of us might have lost our jobs during COVID, but then some of us kept our jobs during COVID, and we were staying at home. We weren't spending any money. Like, things happened where it was just like this perfect storm of events had to happen for the Pokemon market to explode. And guys, I don't know if you could really pin it down to one single thing. There was a lot of different things that took place, but it's just something to think about. So if you want to go the sealed product way, you've probably been very successful. If you went the graded card way, you probably wouldn't have been as successful, especially if you go the bulk route like I do. A lot of the cards I send away at bulk grading because I want the lowest dollar amount to grade my cards, because that's just how I am. I guess when it comes to grading, I'm still stuck in the past when, you can send away a lot of cards and not wait literally an eternity for your cards to get back. So, I'm like a relic of a previous time. And, I tried to pivot real hard. I tried to go with different grading companies, and that's why I'm with CGC right now. And I've jumped into the deep end on CGC. I'm all in, and I haven't got any of my returns back yet. Like, I sit back and I just think about, like, what's going on. But at the same time, like, if I want to do well in this market, I have to learn how to adapt. And I try to look back and I say, when did I know that this market was going to explode? And I wasn't ready for everything that happened. I don't think anyone was. If I was ready, guys, I would have went out and bought every vintage pack that I could pick up, for between $100 and $200 a pack. I would have cleaned out the market. I would have owned everything. But I never expected the market to do what it's doing. But I look back and I say, when did I start to really recognize what was going on? And every time I think about this subject, I just go back to Hidden Fates, when Hidden Fates was first released. Hidden Fates was the first real product that came out that you just couldn't get your hands on, really. Like, yeah, like, it was definitely like the demand was there for Hidden Fates. But before that, I can't, there was that, like, the little bubble in 2016 where everybody started playing Pokemon Go, and there was the hype of the 20th anniversary, but I don't ever remember having trouble finding product, So I think that's the difference there. That maybe, like, if there was any kind of hype train, it never affected me. Like, where now I'm affected by it, because you can't go to your local Target, you can't go to your local Walmart, you can't go to your local GameStop, you can't go to your local Best Buy. You can't go to your local party city. You can't go to just the million different places we used to be able to pick up Pokemon products. Like, you can't go there anymore. The shelves are cleared out, and as soon as the restocks do come, if you don't happen to be there that day within like a small couple hour window, it's all sold out again. So, I've been forced to get a lot of stuff online, done a lot of Target. Target always has different Pokemon products. Done a lot of Best Buy. And that's pretty much it for, and then some individual like Pokemon online companies that sell at MSRP that strictly just deal in Pokemon. Like, I've been forced to go there for a lot of my pre-orders. And talking about pre-orders, in what world do we live in that ETBs of a set that's not released, Shining Fates, they're selling for $150 at pre-order prices? And when I say they're selling. Pre-orders are getting put out there at $150 and they're getting wiped out. Whoa. Guys, whoa. This is like a novel, like the world's greatest story being told. At least the world's greatest Pokemon story is being told and unfolding before our eyes. Like, who would have thought that ETBs for a brand new set that hopefully, fingers crossed, will have heavy allocations eventually? And yeah, trust me right now, I feel your pain. Trying to get Shining Fates, anything is impossible. I don't care if you try to go get 1 2-pack tin. Good luck. But don't forget, Champion's Path was very hard to get on that first wave too. And Pokemon did send out that tweet saying like, hey, we are trying to meet demand for a lot of products and we're ramping up and blah, 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 blah. But then they also talk about like doing reprints and all this. They can't even meet demand for their current stuff they're sending out. But, I sit back, and if I wasn't so passionate about the hobby, I don't know really what I would be doing right now. Or if I didn't like have so much experience buying packs, or I sit down and I look at, I got shelves of graded stuff. Shelves, I'm looking at it right now and how much bulk I have to sort through, and I have packages that are already wrapped up, like different eBay lots that are just waiting to, have people purchase them, and I got all this sealed product, and I have just so much different stuff that I could keep myself entertained forever. But at the same time, like, the itch to acquire more and to grow my collection, it's not going away. If anything, it's getting worse. And I don't know how much of this is like that psychological factor of, the FOMO, maybe the fear of missing out, or, anytime you're in a hobby, you would think that eventually, after enough time, you would grow out of it, or events like end of 2020 and the beginning of 2021 with the prices and the lack of supply and, being so used to having store shelves be full, you would think that that would be like this huge turnoff of the hobby for me. But guys, I don't know why. It's just having this like polarizing opposite effect. And for whatever reason, it's invigorating me. It's rejuvenating my like love of the hobby, my interest in the hobby. And don't get me wrong, I think a lot of that has to do that I have been lucky and I have like a lot of stuff already, and it's been financially beneficial, like this whole boom. But trust me, like, I look back sometimes on products that I've sold in the not too distant past And I look at the prices of what some of this stuff is selling at now, and it makes me want to go into my bathroom and puke, because how much money was left on the table. But guys, like I said earlier in this video, no one knew what the actual scale of what was going to happen was. I look back and I think about booster boxes that were sealed, a vintage product that I opened and sold unweighed packs at a premium. And man, if I could have a time machine and go back in time and never open up a vintage booster box, you think I would ever have opened a vintage booster box knowing what prices are now? We're talking like $50,000 for some of these vintage boxes. And, but prices weren't there. Vintage base set boxes weren't even selling for close to that. So, and, I look at all the first edition stuff that I've gone through, like for the WotC stuff, like Team Rocket and all the Gym Heroes and all those cards that were first edition. They were worthless. Maybe not like absolutely worthless, but raw, ungraded bulk stuff. Oh my God, there was so much. I go back in time and I think about just how much of that stuff I passed over when I was buying binder collections, how long it would take me to go through binder collections to sell them. I would only buy one, maybe two big binder collections a year, and I would just take my time and I would methodically go through it. I would only take out like the cards that I thought were the big hitters and send them away for grading. I go back and I open up some of these binder collections, and you could pull out like tons of cards that are now worth it as a collector. But even when I started seeing what these cards were selling for, I was still hesitant because I didn't think that the market could absorb so many of what I considered common bulk Pokemon product, But the market is just absorbing so much of it. And I don't know if it's all new collectors. Unless the amount of people getting into the hobby or back into the hobby is so much more than I really think it is. Maybe there's a lot of people out there who are like me that are just getting reinvigorated, even with all the roadblocks that we're hitting daily with trying to get product. And you can't forget about it. If you missed your opportunity to go back and complete sets, it's over. Like, man, I look at some of the, I have like a lot of what I consider gaps in my collection. Like, I wanted to get this card, and I kind of passed on it because I thought, oh, okay, this price is too high at this time. None of those prices now would be considered high in the market. And I look back, but then it's also easy too, right, to play this devil advocate game where I just look back on every single sale I ever made or every single card that I ever passed over. I think, well, did I really have like the dollar amount available to go out and buy all this stuff? Like, what kind of risky investment would that have been for me? Do you know how many people out there like passed over this stuff? Like, we're talking eBay lots that sat on the market forever, and then one day they were just gone, and you just watched the market like creep up to crazy prices. When people do ask me, where should I be collecting? Should I be grading cards? Should I be keeping sealed product? Right now, today, my answer is do whatever you want. But be familiar with the grading process. And I've said this to so many of my listeners, and I've said it in so many of my other videos. Be familiar with the process, and get used to it, because eventually the single market will be where most collectors will want to go. I don't know if a lot of these booster box prices are really sustainable for the super long term. I just don't see Evolutions being sustainable at $1,000. Maybe it is. Maybe we don't ever see a reprint of it again. But I don't see it being out of the realm of impossible. And that's just because Pokemon freaking loves to reprint Evolutions. I don't know why. I feel like they have a giant dartboard and they're like, all right, throw a dart at this board. And whatever you hit, we're going to reprint this month. And there's only Evolutions on that dartboard. Because that's how it's always felt. It's always felt like that. Evolutions is the most printed set in Pokemon history. But you can go out and get it still today. How many 4-pack, 5-pack tins there are out there, and there's always an Evolutions in there? You're telling me that one Evolutions pack is going to pay for that whole tin, so I could literally go out and buy a tin, pull out my Evolutions pack, sell it unopened, and pay for everything else? What? But yeah, I guess. You think Evolutions packs are valued at $20+, you can do that. So I look at stuff like that and I just don't know if it makes sense. And there's so many people out there that want to argue it. And if you think about it, maybe they've been right. Do I ever see the price of Evolutions booster boxes creeping up to $20,000? No. I mean, no matter how hard I think about it, I don't ever see that happening. But the market is changing, especially for sealed product. But what's weird is we're seeing such an explosion in sealed product and a lot of modern stuff. For whatever reason, a lot of the, vintage stuff is not keeping up with the price increase. Or I shouldn't say vintage, because yes, vintage is keeping up. But what, maybe more of the semi-vintage stuff, we're not seeing the crazy increases in prices. But then again, we are seeing the crazy increases of prices. So I don't even know if that's a good argument anymore. There's just growth in every sector of this hobby. So I don't know what to tell you guys. I just want you to keep collecting, keep investing, but don't be so tied up financially that you're afraid to take profits. And I did just tell you earlier in this video, I've taken profits before in the past, and I look back on those and I kick myself for them. But very important quote, and I've said it in other videos, no one has ever gone broke taking profits. So do what you feel is right. And, maybe I could help a little bit or lead you in the right direction or what I think is the right direction. But with the way the market is and the prices of cards are just constantly changing, as long as you're smart about stuff, and when I say smart, I mean understand the sets. Please, if you are going to go out there and you want to start investing in a bunch of booster boxes, know the sets. Think about one of the hottest sets right now of very modern product, and that's Cosmic Eclipse. Yes, I freaking did it. I brought up Cosmic Eclipse in another one of my videos. This now officially makes the 1,000th time I've talked about Cosmic Eclipse. But let's just talk about that real quick. I talked about Cosmic Eclipse in the first video this channel ever made, saying how it's the best set. Everyone who was in the hobby, who looked at the set, loved it. And it, for whatever reason, took a little while for people to open up their eyes and realize, holy cow, Cosmic Eclipse is one of the best sets, in my opinion, and a lot of other people's opinions, ever printed. And when I say ever printed, I mean long term, we will talk about cosmic eclipse years from now, when it hasn't been, when there's no more talk about reprints or no more anything. When we go back and we just look at different eras, people are going to talk about Sword and Shield. They're going to talk about, probably like Vivid Voltage being one of the, and we don't even know, right? Because Sword and Shield's only, Vivid Voltage is only Sword and Shield number 4. So, but like when we go back and we look at Sun and Moon, we're going to say, wow, there was a lot of good sets in Sun and Moon. There was a lot of bad sets in Sun and Moon. But, wow, Cosmic Eclipse was this awesome set that had such a very small print run compared to everything else. And I think that's why we might see a reprint in the future, because of that small print. And, it just had this like weird timing in between a bunch of good sets and then all the hype that came with Sword and Shield. And it kind of slipped between the cracks. And it took people a little while to find that set. And, I guess we're done talking about Cosmic Eclipse, but just to go back to everything, there's so many different things you can do right now in the market. Just do what you want, guys. If you want to invest in sealed product, if you want to make that your niche, do it. If you want to go the graded route, and trust me, there is a high dollar amount upfront cost of grading. And if you are wrong and you pick the wrong cards to grade, you could potentially lose money or break even or not even come close to the percentage you were hoping to make off that card. But if you've never graded cards before, you're still lacking in that area. You gotta send some cards away for grading. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Well, anyways, I think this is now officially the longest video talking about grading versus sealed product. And I don't think I gave you an answer. And I'm sorry about that. But there's just so many things to talk about, so many things to take into account. We could sit here and talk about this forever. And if that's something you guys want, where it would take, I would have to do a full podcast, hour plus, just to talk about like everything that goes through my head, especially when it comes to this stuff. But let me know if you've made it this far in the video. You are absolutely awesome. You're the reason I make these videos. And yeah, guys, other than that, if you're new to this channel, hit that subscribe button. If you've made it this far, hit that like button, because if you hit that like button, it upvotes this video, and with the YouTube algorithm, it helps me out so much. And if you do enjoy my thoughts, or you do enjoy this channel, the best way you could help this channel is just by hitting that like button and bringing this content out to more listeners out there. But other than that, guys, I'll catch you on the next video.